Welcome to this training. I'm Dr. Erin, your high performance business coach and the success psychologist. And thank you for joining me. Very excited to share with you all the nuggets that I can about how to be more productive. So today's inner circle, we are focusing on productivity. And there are, I've never met someone that says like, I'm good. I'm as productive as I want to be. I get everything done every single day of my life. I just have excess time on my hands, right? And unfortunately, I talk to so many of us that when our head hits the pillow at night, we say to ourselves, I feel like I've been really busy, but I'm not sure what I've done today. Or I feel like I'm just on the hamster wheel and I'm not really moving myself forward. Or I work the same amount of hours, but my income is just plateauing, or my impact is just plateauing. So my intention for this call is to throw at us all of the best science about how to be more productive. Okay, so let's get going. I have 4 major points I'm going to be sharing with you today. So just know that there's 4 major points, but let me set the groundwork, the framework for what productivity means so that we're all on the same page. I realized a while back, and I'm sure you have realized this too, but being productive is very, very different than being busy. And I haven't met a lot of people that want to grow up and be busy. So our intention is not to work ourselves to the bone. It's not to work more. The intention of what I'm teaching is to help us work smarter, not necessarily harder. That may mean you put more hours in. It might mean you put less hours in. It's actually not an hourly kind of metric. And you'll find that, okay? What is going to be the measure of your productivity is this. This is the question to ask yourself that will answer, am I being productive or not? Productivity is a function of how well you're leading your dream. I'll say that again. Productivity is a function of how well you're leading your dream, or how well you're leading your goal. It's a function of that. That is the only thing we measure it against. So you can see with that definition, I don't care how many hours you work, I care what you're doing in the time that you spend, right? I have a coach who, I love how she says this. She says, I don't want you spending your time, I want you experiencing your time. So remember the definition of high performance. It means that we're going to be productive at statistically unusually high levels, but we're going to be productive at that level for a long, long time. So I want to share with you, there's a difference between high performance and peak performance. The peak performance is kind of from the 80s, and it's this pseudoscience, really. And really what we found is most human beings can be peak performers. And what that means is you can go hard, and then you crash. I call it the sprint puke method. Anyone done the sprint puke method? I mean, it's like crash and burn. You probably did that in college when you were up late studying for exams, right? Or I remember there were grant proposals that were due, and anyone who's ever written a grant, you just go on fumes and then you kind of tank. And what happens when you tank and you take a rest? Well, what usually happens is all of us would go home from college and we would have a week off and we would all get sick. That's peak performance where you can just crush it and go really, really hard, but there's a price that we pay. High performance is a sustainability of producing up here over decades. So then you got to look at, okay, when we look at high performers, they're producing more than their non-high performing cohort, but at the same time, they are happy, they are healthy, and they usually have more money. So we can't say, well, that person's more productive because they don't go to the gym and work out and focus on their health. Nope, it's actually the opposite. So you want to be more productive. You're going to need to take care of your body better, and you're going to need to exercise more. It also isn't, okay, well, they have more hours in the day. It also isn't, they must not sleep very much, because as a peak performer, you can give up your sleep for a while, but then remember what happens? You crash. You get sick on the break from college, right? Everyone got sick when they went home from college break. Okay, that's not what we're doing. The definition, remember, of high performance is over a long period of time. So you're going to need to sustain your levels of energy, vibrancy, vitality, joy up here to stay producing up here. So how is it that we do this? Okay, so I just wanted to lay that framework that we're breaking up with busy. We're trying to be productive instead of busy. Let me talk about busy for a second. I think there are two sides of busy. There's bad busy and there's good busy. Let me tell you the difference. Bad busy, you're busy and you're doing stuff and you're like, I don't know if I'm getting anything done, right? Good busy, it's like I'm in the zone and I'm accomplishing what I want to accomplish. So if you have some qualms about that word busy, there is a good busy, and you know how it feels when you feel it, when you're experiencing it. Okay. So I have 4 principles I want to teach you today about productivity, how to amp up your productivity. Number 1, I want you to write down the concept, slow down to go fast. What I mean by this is the number 1 predictor of how productive you're going to be is how on mission you are and how focused you are on what your mission is. So if you imagine your business or your goal or your life is a vehicle and you are that vehicle and you're hopping in your vehicle or you're hopping in your vehicle, which is your business, I want you to imagine plugging into the GPS exactly where you want to take your vehicle. There's a saying that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? So we don't want to be just spinning our wheels and driving. We want to reach a destination. So this idea of slow down to go fast is so crucial. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, generally speaking, human beings can function pretty well in what's called a time horizon of about 1 year. And what a time horizon is really what is the time frame that we actually feel, that motivates us, that kind of gets us to work on a goal. We as humans, of course, are the only animal that can think ahead, that can think 40 years down the road. We can plan for things like retirement. We can do all that. But it's about the 1 year mark of what's truly gonna kind of get us out of bed in the morning, motivate us, and what we can really truly see with our frontal lobe, so to speak, of our brain. So if you think about, where do I want to be a year from now? Yes, you can think about that in the context of, where do I want to be 5 years from now? Where do I want my business to be 10 years from now? But I want you to do what is just such a great technique, is reverse engineer. I want you to reverse engineer back from those big goals back to a year, right? Now, that probably is not a new concept to you, but what is a new concept to you, what I want you to be sure you're aware of is that our forgetters can work really well. I don't know if any of you are like I used to be. My forgetter worked really well. And what I mean by that is, if you don't remind yourself daily of where you're going, of what your goal is, your brain is going to forget. And what does that look like? It looks like squirrel. It looks like I'm exhausted. It looks like, forget it. It was way too hard. What was I thinking in the first place? It looks like, oh, there's a new strategy. It looks like, oh, there's a new book. Right? All the things. Okay. So one of the greatest positive psychologists, his name is Dr. Rick Hansen. And he says, keep your dreams on the windshield of your mind. And I just love how he says that. I want you keeping that goal and that dream on the forefront so that your forgetter doesn't work. Because remember, our brains are goal-achieving machines. They know not what to do other than do what we tell them we're doing. They will go towards what we tell them to. So if we don't remember where we're going, right, we're going to take detours and we're going to, take the wrong lane, and we're just going to get on all the wrong paths. So how can you remind yourself, right? You need to literally remind yourself every single morning what your dream is. I have a whiteboard over in my living room. I'm looking at it right now. I have my plan mapped out for this year. I have those numbers burned and etched in my brain of how many people I need to serve in what category of my business. We know exactly where we're going. Let me give you another example. I knew last year was the year I was to write the book because I have a 5-year plan for my business, and the book was a big part of launching all the other things. Now, I wanted to launch all the other things because all those other things were snazzy and fun, and I was going to conferences and learning all about the other things. But I needed to write the book, right? So we need to remind ourselves, put blinders on where we are going. Another thing you could do is you could put your goal or your dream on your phone screensaver and look at it every single time. Put it on your mirror. Just remind yourself every morning. And this is what I want you to ask. If productivity is a measure of how well you're leading your dream, when you're asked to do anything, when you're thinking of doing anything, when you're considering, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? The question to ask is, will this move my mission forward right now? Will this move my mission forward? Okay. So we're plugging into the GPS. Again, we can think 5 to 10 years, but I want you to really think of this next year. We're kind of halfway through it almost, which is crazy. So let's think of, what do you want to accomplish by the end of 2019, okay? Okay, so slow down to go fast. What I also mean for that is I want you to understand the power of personal assessment. There is a concept in psychology, and it's called reactivity. And there's something magical that happens with our goals and attaining our goals when we track what we're doing, and when we look at what we're doing, when we slow down on a pretty regular basis to assess how we're doing, okay? So it's called the power of reactivity. It's like if we want to lose 15 pounds, you put a group of people that just say, I want to lose 15 pounds, compare them to a group of people that are tracking everything they eat, and the people who track will lose the weight. There is something powerful, magical, whatever we want to call it, about documenting. Now, if you want to shut the computer off right now and be like, do not make me track everything I do, I totally hear you. It sounds so unglamorous, so unsexy. It sounds so laborious. If you have not ever looked at a week of your life and tracked how you spend your time, I want you to give yourself the gift of doing that this week. And here's what, it's not going to take extra time. You're just going to track every single thing you're doing as you do it. Okay? I want you to share those in the group. I want you to share those with me. If you don't want to share them with others, share it with me. Color code. Oh my gosh, that's when I was exercising, or that's when I was meal prepping, or that's when I was doing neither. I don't ever meal prep, or I don't ever exercise, or I was on Facebook for 16 hours a week. Okay, that's interesting. I've been telling myself a story that I don't have enough time, but that's interesting, right? So give yourself the gift of tracking everything you do for a week. We can then look at the categories. It's going to be so illuminating and probably pretty empowering if you need to make a pivot. Okay? Okay. So slow down to go fast. Plug in the GPS. Think of your yearly goal and keep your dream on the dashboard of your mind, because your forgetters will work really well. Okay, number 2, I have 4 points. Number 2, write this down, plan, and plan some more. plan. Okay, again, if you want to throw tomatoes at the computer, it's okay. Trust me on this. If any of you have ever really been disciplined and planned your life, you understand there is freedom in discipline. There is freedom in discipline. There is freedom in structure. What I mean by plan. Okay. If I were to come to your house right now and say, hey, show me your calendar, wherever you have your calendar. I want you to know that what I see on your calendar would show me what you value. And I just want you to really look at that truthfully. And I want you to know that your planner, it should be so clear to me, looking at it, what you are up to in the world. Okay. And again, we are looking at progress, not perfection here, my friends. Okay. So I should be able to look at your calendar and know exactly what's your plan for this year. Exactly. Oh, wow. She's really into that right now, or she's really building that. Or, okay. If it's not, let's change that. Okay. So the plan works if you work the plan, but you got to have a plan. We got to have a plan. So any road will take us there. So we are going to be very intentional. High performers live with intention, right? That's the number one trademark. They live with massive amounts of intention. You better believe that every single workout I do a week is on my calendar. Every single time I have an opening for a coffee date, which is not any time. I have specific days where I can say to someone, I have an opening here. I would love to share it with you. Or it's going to have to wait till next week. My week is not open for that. Okay? Calendar is king. The calendar is king. This is the deal. This is the good news. I'm not saying to have every single hour of your entire life scheduled. I'm saying to schedule the important stuff. And I'm saying schedule your downtime so that you can have the freedom of knowing it's coming and the freedom of choosing what you're going to do when it comes. Okay. Yes, I'm seeing head nods on that. This is not about you having no freedom. This is about you having more freedom. Okay? I want you to know exactly, oh my gosh, I have a massage scheduled for that date because I planned it. Because guess what? It doesn't get on the calendar if you don't plan it. It doesn't happen, right? And then I want you to totally enjoy that you're at the massage because you know that it's the right and perfect place for that massage. So I want to give you the definition, the equation that in my psychology practice I used to talk about a lot of how to manage stress. So stress management equals two things. It equals time management plus mindfulness. I'll say that again. Stress management, so the way to manage your stress and not have any, is time management plus mindfulness. And what I mean by that is time management is what we're talking about on this call. So time management is figuring out where everything goes. But the mindfulness piece is key. So the mindfulness piece is be wherever you're at and be fully in. And look at, you can't be fully in if you aren't quite sure that that's where you should be, or that you have enough time for it, that you're worrying about where all the other things are going to go because you haven't put them in your plan yet. Do you see how that would rob you of your current enjoyment of the time you're spending right now? If you don't know what's coming next, or if you don't know, I totally have 2 hours to read right now because I have that taken care of. See how much freedom the plan gives you. Okay? So again, this is not about becoming worker bees. This is about you being in alignment with your mission, because then you will be productive. Okay, so this is what I mean by plan. This is how high performers do it. We look at our year. So maybe we look to the end of December. So I know that's only half a year. And we literally ask ourselves, like, where do we want to be? Whatever area of life we're talking about, health, business, family. And then we choose, I want you to choose 3 at the most top projects. So projects are these kind of global general areas. Like in business, a project would be, I want to increase my visibility on social media. That would be a project. Another project might be, I want to grow my influence in corporate America and get more speaking engagements in corporate America. Another might be, I want to get lots and lots more customers or sales. Okay, those are big projects. Okay, about 3 is what are the top 3 projects that will move you towards your big goal for the next 6 months or year. That makes sense? So they're like buckets. And one of those buckets for me last year, I was describing this, but one of those buckets last year was write a book, right? Like that was a bucket. And I knew I would write the book after I taught certain courses because I knew the courses were going to be my book. So I actually waited to write the book until I had taught the course, which took 6 months, tweaked the course. And then when I sat down to write the book, I'm not saying this to brag or impress you, but the book took me 9 days to write. But it's because I had planned it that way. I mean, if it was a brand new book sitting down, that would be a whole different story. But I had a strategy and I actually couldn't write the book until the 6 months of the course. So see how I got to tell myself I wasn't behind. I was right on track. But writing a book and doing a course meant I couldn't do other things. And I slotted that into year 3 of my business, which I'm in right now. So now this year, the focus is different than writing a book. Now it's all about funnels online and corporate America stuff. And that's where my time, energy, money's going. The first year of my business was speaking. And you probably watched that. You know, I spoke 43 times the first year, but I didn't launch a Facebook ad. I never did any of that stuff. See how stressed out I could make my brain be if I told myself I wasn't being productive? That wasn't the mission of year 1 because there's only so much resources. It's called bandwidth. There's only so much resources we all have. I had a plan. I needed to work the plan and I needed to put blinders on and not do all the things so that I could crush the lane that I was in, right? So pick your big goal, whittle it down to 3 main categories. That will really help you say, is this in this year's category? Is this fall into one of those 3 buckets? Okay, so you look at that and then you say, what does that mean monthly? So we're going to go yearly or half year. And then you say, what does that look like monthly? Okay, monthly that would mean, and you know your own numbers and you reverse engineer and you'd say, oh, what would that monthly income look like? Or maybe what would that growth look like if I were to grow 10% each month or whatever, right? I can help you with that if you want specific help with that. But okay, I got that number. Okay, now what would that look like to do this month? So then you have a very clear goal that your brain can wrap itself around. Okay, for the month of May, this is the goal. The brain loves short amount of time. It loves to reward you like we're doing this, right? If it's too far out in that time horizon, it's not going to reward you with those good neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine. It actually rewards you. Okay, so you got your monthly goal. Okay, I want to talk 8 times in the month of May. Okay, where would they be? Okay, that means I have to say no to some other things if I'm going to say yes to 8 speaking gigs, yada, yada, yada. You see, right? Now I got my monthly goal. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to reverse engineer to weekly goals. Pick whatever day of the week works for you, but every single week, I would really encourage you that every week you have a day where you're planning out your week. For my husband and I, that's Sunday nights, and we say, okay, let's look at your calendar. Let's look at mine. What do we got for the kids? What do you got for my business? I look at my business. I look at the week. I map out my workouts. I map out what day am I meal planning. I map it out because remember, it doesn't happen if you don't map it out. So if one of my goals is to maintain my health, guess what? I'm going to have to figure out when I'm going to exercise and plan healthy eating. That has to go in the calendar. For my daughter and I, we meal prep Sunday nights. Now I don't have to worry about it any other time, but I have to put it in Sunday nights, which means I can't say yes to things Sunday nights or else I can be flexible and move it. but it means I'm going to have to find some other time to meal prep, right? It's like I am the master of my domain. I am the master of my calendar, right? You're in the driver's seat of your life again. You're not reacting to the needs of the world, of life, of everyone coming at you. Now, we've done weekly, so guess what we're going to do? We're going to look at daily. And I want you to be productive. Highly successful people have habits, and they look like this. They kind of bookend their days. And what I mean by that is they start their day a certain way and they end their day a certain way. You've probably heard some of this stuff, but I want you to hear it again, right? But this is what highly successful people in general do in the morning. They spend their first hour not on defense, but on offense. Not in reaction, but in creation. So what I mean by that is they're filling their cups. They're doing massive self-care first thing. And there's something, again, very, very powerful about doing it in the morning that doesn't seem to work as well when you do it later in the day, okay? And what it looks like this is, they get up, they drink a couple glasses of water. Do what you got to do. Maybe you have a green drink, maybe you have something, but just hydrate first thing. It just gets the neurons connecting. Your neurons, when they're dehydrated, they can't connect and you can't think straight. Isn't that funny? So if these are cells, you drink water and they can touch and they can help you think. So you drink some water. The first hours where highly successful people are getting their workout in, which can be 20 minutes or more, whatever. They're just moving their body, right? Or they're stretching, they're meditating, and they are practicing some gratitude. And then they are walking through their day with intention. They whip out their calendar and they say, what is on my schedule today? They're not alarmed by it. They know they put it there, right? Because they've mapped out their week. Oh, I have amped inner circle at noon. Ooh, on productivity. Okay. And then they ask themselves, what kind of energy do I want to bring to those meetings? How can I do today with excellence? That's a question you can ask yourself every morning. How can I do this day with excellence? You can also ask yourself, what could possibly go wrong and how would I want to maneuver that? How would my best self want to show up for that? Okay. And they bookend their days, I said. So at the end of the day, you're looking at your day. How did I serve with excellence? Was I my best self? Where did I fall short? And how can I learn from that? Not a shaming exercise, not a judging, a learning of what was it that I was supposed to learn from that? What can I glean from that so that I don't repeat that? So there's no failure. There's just forward learning. You can bookend your day again with gratitude. And then this is what science shows. Successful people document their wins. And my friends, this is what I'm the worst at. So I'm getting better every day. I'm just so good at just doing. I'm not good at documenting. But there's something in positive psychology, neuroscience that shows that it integrates into your identity when you document the wins. And we need you to integrate your celebrations, victories, success, service, impact. We need you to integrate that into your identity of who you are, because you need that to go to the next level of who you're becoming. And again, Dr. Rick Hansen, he has this great saying that neurons that fire together wire together. Neurons that fire together wire together. Isn't that great? And I love that you guys love that. And what that means is, like, you got to document the wins. You could ask, how did I move my business forward today? How was I good to my health today? How did I serve others greatly today? But remember, the brain finds what it goes looking for. And if you do not create a habit for looking for this stuff, you'll miss it. And then you're just a worker bee. Then you're just on the treadmill of life. And remember, high performers, we want to feel our day and we want to be engaged with our day and we want to experience joy. So it is a habit we have to practice. Okay, so we did a year, down to a month, down to a week, down to a day, and there's one more. Every single transition throughout your day, high performers do differently. High performers master their transitions. So what I mean by that is between every single meeting you have and every single thing you have, generally speaking, high performers transition by taking a break every 52 to 55 minutes, if we're being technical. And what a break means is not this. This is not a break. This is not a break. A break is taking a drink of water, hydrating, or it's stretching, or it's visiting the river if you work by a river, or it's going and looking, getting some fresh air, or it's taking 10 deep breaths, or it's connecting to your higher power, or it's saying some affirmations, or it's revisiting your GPS, your dream, or it's, squatting, anything that kind of gets the hormones going. Okay. But it is a 5-minute break. The reason we need to do this, it's kind of like recharging the battery on your iPhone. Like very few of us let our batteries die on our phones. We're like, no, we're dying. I mean, there's a commercial about it. I'm dying. We just don't let that happen, but we let that happen to ourselves. So we need to recharge throughout the day if we're going to have 20 years of success up here. Do you see that? Do you see why now the transitions allow us to have a 20-year run up here without crashing and burning? This is how we get to the end of the day and our head hits the pillow and we are not exhausted, because we are actually refueling ourselves throughout the day. That is so exciting. Remember, the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. You are going to generate your own energy. You're going to plug in your electric car, plug in and refuel the battery, re-energize every single transition. This is also how we can transition these 4 words. This is from Brendan Burchard. But this is all goes back to intention. In every single transition, you could say these 4 words to yourself: release tension, set intention. Release tension, set intention. So what does this look like? Okay, before this meeting, I might release the tension of my previous meeting. Okay, do I have any tension in my body? I can scan from top to bottom, or I can scan emotionally. Do I have some tension? Ooh, that was a hard meeting, or wow, that was, really difficult, or wow, that took a lot of energy. And then I'm going to, release the tension, and then I'm going to set intention for the next meeting. So remember, high performers aren't different. They just activate themselves different and more often. They're intentional. Remember Oprah Winfrey, every single meeting for 25 years at Harpo Studios, she started the meeting with her staff the same exact way, with the same exact question, and it was, what is your intention for this meeting? Just ask yourself that all day, every day. And remember, to know what our intention is, we have to know who we want to show up as. And so if you've never done your ideal self exercise, what that is I want you to describe your ideal self with all the words that you can think of that would describe you. I am blank, 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 blank. What do you have, Linda? Oh my gosh, affluent, loving, peace. Oh, so great. She's got it on the dashboard of her computer. I love it. So what is my intention? I am blank, blank, and blank. With others, I am blank, blank, and blank. Okay, I'm entering my home after a long day of work. What is my intention? I want to show up as blank, blank, and blank. What's my energy? How do I want to be? So intention is just, how do I want to show up? That's success, right? Maya Angelou says success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. What is your intention for this meeting? What is your intention for this yoga class? Be all in. Okay, so number 2 was plan, and plan some more, right? So we're planning yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, and daily we're doing every transition. And we're thinking of what's the big goal, and then what are the 3 buckets, and asking, does this thing serve my mission? Does it move my mission forward? Okay, number 3, respect your bandwidth. Respect your bandwidth. What do I mean by that? I mean, bandwidth is this idea that we all have a certain amount of time, energy, resources. Your bandwidth is different than my bandwidth. I remember coming home from a big Brendan Burchard conference and I was on fire and I was like, you guys, this is what high performers do. And someone wrote, and how many children does a high performer have? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he has 0 children. You know, like Brendan Burchard's bandwidth is different than my bandwidth because I have 3 children. It's different than your bandwidth. Your bank account has a different bandwidth than mine. My team has a different bandwidth than yours. Your bandwidth is going to change as you grow a team. Okay, so your bandwidth helps you determine what you're going to say yes to and no to. And generally speaking, we want to do what's called the 60-40 rule. And what this means is 60% of your time should be in your 3 buckets. 60% of your time or more should be applied to those 3 buckets that we've already discerned what those need to be. Then we're going to figure out, okay, the other 40% of my time can be all these other things. Socializing, meeting new people, networking, cleaning the house, blah, 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 right? So this whole concept of like, just do one thing, just the one thing, that's a great book, but it gets a little confusing. I don't think the intention is, I don't think that was meant to tell us we should only focus on one thing, because nobody can do that. If I were to only focus on mothering, I wouldn't be here right now. If I was only to focus on my business, I wouldn't be mothering, right? So we want to do one thing, meaning the one goal. And then we're going to fill in the little pebbles. We got these boulders that take all of our time. We've got some pebbles, right? Life. We're going to fill that in. So your yeses and nos, I hope that you gain such clarity and discernment about what is a great yes for you and what's a great no based on where you're going, what the 3 buckets are, and what your bandwidth is. So ask yourself, and tell yourself, when I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. It's just the law. It's just how it works. So if I say yes to this thing and my life is already pretty full, what do I need to pivot? What do I need to move around? What do I need to say no to let the next great thing in? That's another great question to ask for yourself. Another great question to ask is not, would I be good at this, but would this be good for my mission? I'm going to say that again, because that changed my life. About a year ago, I was offered an opportunity that I would have been great at, but it would not have been good for me. Isn't that an interesting discernment? So, you know, we've been told that in self-help, like, do what you're good at. No, not necessarily. That's not necessarily the highest bar. You're a high performer. You're great at lots of things. That's the problem, is you're great at lots of things, right? And when we're great at lots of things, we become a scattered performer instead of a high performer. We don't want to be a scattered performer. So instead of asking, would I be great at this, ask, would this be great for me? Would this be great for my mission? Would this move my mission forward? Remember, productivity is a measure of how well you're moving your mission forward. So that's your metric. So 60-40. So respect your bandwidth. Last thing I want to talk about is get your daily dose of vitamin E. And what I mean by this, there's 3 E's that I want you to write down: energy, environment, and I want you to write down the word external. And I'm going to go through these: energy, environment, and external. So get your daily dose of vitamin E. Energy is a performance enhancer, or, you know, takes away. So when we're talking about productivity, it's a measure and a function. It's a function of your energy level. So one of the number 1 things that will decrease our productivity, it's actually not distractions and social media and emails, it's fatigue. And the number 1 thing that makes us fatigued is being dehydrated. So I want you to write down that Dr. Erin said it's okay to drink your way to success. Okay? I want you to drink a lot of water. Okay? And I also want you to sleep your way to the top. I want you to sleep, sleep, sleep. So you're going to drink and sleep. I know. She's like, what is she talking about? You'll never forget it, right? You're going to drink your way to success and sleep your way to the top. What I mean, you're going to drink at least 4 to 5 liters of water a day. It's a lot. It's twice as much as what they say. And you're going to sleep. We want you sleeping at 7 to 9 hours. And if you're getting 5, just try to go to 5.5, then try to get to 6. Maybe just tap out at 7, okay? And I hear lots of people, but I can get by on 4. Remember, we're not here to get by. We're here to thrive for decades. So peak performers can get away with not sleeping. That's not what we're doing, remember? We're being high performers. Success over the long term. So when you sleep, what happens, it's called the dishwasher effect. And it's like the toxins in your brain are like scrunched out and you're rejuvenated. We need that, okay? So I want you to self-care your way to success. So self-care is not just a massage, it's taking care of that morning routine. It's filling your cup. It's not letting yourself get on empty, right? Okay, environment. What I mean by environment, vitamin E, the environment is, you know, we don't even have to get distracted by others. We distract ourselves all day long. I mean, with our gadgets and our phones. So sometimes a simple technique such as turning off notifications so that your brain doesn't hear ding, 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 because it gets addicted to checking, that can change so much of your productivity, right? If you've ever heard me talk about productivity, I call it SWAT teaming your hours. What I mean by that is you're going to kind of break up your day in these 52 to 55 minute increments, and you're going in. And when you go in, you're like all in. Your blinders are on, your phone is down, your email is not up unless your hour is to do email. You are just doing that thing. You are doing that thing. You are telling people in your family, do not disturb me. Are we good for 50 minutes? Does anyone need anything before I go in? I'm SWAT teaming my hour. I mean, it's that mentality. You're telling your team, please don't interrupt the next hour. I'm going in, whatever, right? You tell yourself, I'm not going in. I'm not going to go check Facebook. I have that in my calendar from this time to that time. And when I go in, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going in. Like you're SWAT teaming your day. Okay, so set up your environment to help you not get distracted. Okay, and then the last E is external. And what I mean by that is I really want you to assess the people in your life. And there's a big difference between judging people and discerning who adds value and who takes energy from you, who is, you know, rejuvenating to be with and who is a depletion, okay? And again, this is not, you can't cut out everyone in your life just because you're on your path to success. That is ridiculous. But it also means just looking at, you know, energy is contagious. Positive energy rubs off on you, but so does negative. So do you have a set or a friend who can be kind of your growth friend, your partner, your accountability partner? You know, can we start that in a Facebook group, wherever we need to? Like, this is my plan for the week. Help yourself stay accountable. High performance is social. We are meant to do it together. And when we do it together, we go faster and with way more joy and way more confidence. So confidence is very social too. You know, you can supercharge your confidence by being around other people, sharing your ideas with them. This worked, this didn't. What do you think about this? Getting feedback. The external is also, you know, really think about that concept of get feedback of how you're doing. So whenever I speak, I was asking people that I valued, okay, what did you like? What could I have changed? How could I have made that better? I still, when someone comes up and says, I loved your talk, every single time I say, I would love to hear what you loved. Please tell me. That's super helpful to me. And I start seeing themes. And guess what? The themes help me go to the next level, right? So getting feedback, again, personally assessing yourself all the time will just make your success so much faster and softer, you know? the easier way. Okay, so productivity is a function of how well you're leading your dream. 4 things we talked about: slow down to go fast, plan, 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 respect your bandwidth, and manage your energy. Get your daily dose of vitamin E with your energy, your environment, and external sources. So I'm going to thank you for being on this call. I'm going to stop the recording here, but thank you for joining me as we talked about productivity.